because Suren Singh already gave an introduction, Indramani also have explained some, Syed gave this. So, well, let me relate to my own career. When I was doing my PhD, I developed a relationship between yield and other factors like input of energy in tillage, water for irrigation, chemical fertilizers, and chemicals for pest control. So, and they were all put in two different equations. One was based on the money terms and other was based on energy terms, because you can convert everything into energy. Fertilizer also into energy, everything you can. And I use a very difficult system called Cobb-Douglas functions, which was being used mostly by economists those days, and also stepwise regression. And I found that there was no relationship between tillage and yield. There was a very strong relationship with water, means irrigation available, a strong relationship with fertilizer, but whatsoever, no relationship with the amount of tillage you do. And that I'm talking, I did this work in 1971. And it was published in American Society of Ag Engineers Transactions also. So conventional tillage is a frequent inversion of topsoil. And this frequent inversion of topsoil damages the structure of the soil. It reduces the organic matter and makes the susceptible to erosion by wind and water. So this is what conventional tillage does. Definitely we do the conventional tillage to control weeds, to create a soil condition so where crop can be established. Suren Singh already explained three major components of the CA. I do not like to call it a zero tillage. I always prefer word minimum tillage, because even when you are planting, you are doing a tillage. So there is a minimum tillage. You are not doing it specifically only for land preparation. That's so you are avoiding the land preparation part. Okay. Then second, the crop residue, the soil mulch, which is the probably very important part. And then crop rotation or diversification. I'll call it more as a rotation, because when you change the crops, you break the biological cycle of pests and insects. So you control them easier by biological means. Interestingly, the conventional agriculture still dominates. It's only few countries where conservation agriculture has moved forward. Globally, conservation area is around 102 million hectares. And this is spread out to also more than 100 countries. And this represents only 15% of the area, of the crop area. India is the largest crop area country, but our conservation agriculture, we are far behind. The maximum conservation agriculture is in Brazil, where they use roughly 80% of areas under conservation agriculture. Other countries like Argentina, Australia, Canada, Paraguay, South Africa, Uruguay, and USA, more than half of the crop area is under conservation agriculture. As Suren Singh told, the main motivation of conservation agriculture is its potential for net gains in income. And it comes from by reducing the inputs, like tillage. When you don't do tillage, you save time, you save energy, you save money, all those things. And rather than mechanical means, the biological activities take over. And the organic carbon increases, organic matter increases, the biological activities increases. And you know, the Earthworms are the best tilling machines. They are the one which pulverize the soil, cultivate it, and make it very rich. So the challenge to engineers is to develop equipment which we can use on small farmers. Still, it is difficult to convince farmers to change from conventional tillage to the conservation tillage. But we have to do in a large areas as a demonstration. I think our talks are not enough. We need institutions and organizations to really adopt it. And I get surprised that why ICAR as a big institution, as a big network of institutes, has not taken it as a lead activity. We have so many ICAR institutes, and starting with IRI and CIAE and all that, if we start following conservation agriculture, I think it will go a long way. We have a very good equipment like zero-till planting systems, zero-till seed drills, Happy Seeder. We have a very good combined harvester with SMS, with the straw management systems and all that. But it's still, like weed control is still a major challenge. And we are still using a lot of herbicide in these cases. So I think there are many challenges. I'll stop on conservation agriculture and move a little bit about urban agriculture. By word urban means agriculture which you do in urban areas or nearby areas as a peri-urban agriculture. This is like, so the practice of cultivating, processing, distributing, is marketing in and around urban areas will be part of urban agriculture. So it includes urban animal husbandry, like dairying is a very common activity near urban areas, poultry, the egg production near urban areas, aquaculture, beekeeping, and the most important is horticulture, the vegetable production especially, to some extent fruits, and I think, and flowers growing. All these urban agriculture is very attractive because it reduces a lot of logistics cost, because it's in the consumption area, is next to the major consumption areas. So lower transportation costs, lower handling costs, all that. And also it provides employment and income to the urban people. So you can start with a simple examples for individual level is the kitchen gardening and roof gardens, and many things are done as even a community gardens. When I was a student at University of California, we were all given a one row of land, 6 feet wide and 100 meters long. And we were allowed to do anything. And so we all grew vegetables. And I was in charge of providing water to everybody. So I could see, and we grew a lot of vegetables and fresh vegetables every day. So it's a lot of fun. But for us, I think agriculture engineer, the big challenge is to like design of poly houses. Vertical farming is becoming extremely popular, is growing up very rapidly because you can multiply the production. Hydroponic, greenhouses, and aquaponic facilities, growing fish and plants together. Aeroponics, which is more challenging and more complicated, but it's much more efficient in terms of resource use. So I think all these activities have a tremendous challenge to engineers now. One challenge to us as agriculture engineers is that we think that engineering is our component. Yes, engineering is our main component, but we have to also know the agronomy, the biology of these productions. So until unless we ourselves are part of the production system, we will not be able to really come up with the excellent designs. And we seem to be staying away from the production part. Like the horticulturists have taken over the greenhouse systems, and they don't know engineering, but they at least try to, when they produce, they learn in this process. So my request will be that those who are involved in this, please get into the production also. So you will realize how important the engineering structures are, how to make them last long. I think with these remarks, I'll say that both these topics, urban agriculture providing fresh food near the consumption areas is really a growing area. Conservation agriculture, conserving resources, reducing use of energy, and becoming cost effective. I think both areas have a tremendous scope and big opportunity for us as agriculture engineers. I'll stop here. Thank you, Sayed.
Thank you, Professor Singh.